So throughout the master key system, there are repetitive themes, and this repetitive theme of conscious and our subconscious mind, showing the differences between those, showing that the conscious mind has ability to pick different options. It has the ability to discriminate. It has the ability to choose and have likes and dislikes, basically our personality. That is our conscious being. And there's another part of us, which is our subconscious mind, which is in a completely different capacity. It is what is operating our breathing, the pumping our blood, the flow of cells, and whatever else our body's doing in this given moment, like beating our heart every day for our whole life, and we don't even realize it or think about it. But yet these things are happening because our subconscious mind is operating in the background, and our operating system of our subconscious mind is the reason for any result in our external reality. What we want to know is how to use both of these minds. It's one mind with two different functions. How to use this to get where we want to go. We have access to infinite power. We have access to the universe, the cosmos, all of this amazing power. And that's one of the main themes, is to be aware of our power, aware that we are part of the infinite. This is not talked about nearly enough to be normalized. So we do have to remind ourselves throughout the day that yes, we are a part of the infinite. We have access to our mental faculties. We are gifted these, but we want to know how to use these to improve ourselves. Because the problem is that we have too many manifestations of problems, stress, fear, disaster, disease, and worst case scenarios. So we have too many of those, and we could probably do with less of those things. So we want to know how to use this power. If we all have access to this power, to the infinite, why is it that these bad things come across? Why am I in certain situations that I absolutely don't want to be in? Why is this happening? How is this happening if we all have infinite power? This happens because the law of attraction works in either way. It doesn't work for only the good things that we want to bring about harmonious conditions. The law of attraction works in both ways for bringing about dreadful conditions, just as it does good conditions, because what we focus on is what we get. And if we focus on disease, disaster, and death, that is what we're going to experience, because those thoughts of disease, disaster, and death activate a certain feeling inside of us, activate a vibration that gets sent throughout our body. And if we're holding that, and if we're focusing that for long periods of time, and thinking about worst case scenarios and problems, and rehearsing stressful situations, that is exactly what's going to get imprinted on our subconscious mind and then flow through in our results, situations, and circumstance, exactly as how the law works. Instead of blaming anything external from us in the form of people, or this happened because of this situation, we can look at ourselves and analyze our thoughts and see and know the feeling of what we're thinking about, and realize what we are holding inside of us is getting projected externally. So we have nowhere else to look but ourselves and inside of ourselves. And at the same time, this is a harsh truth, and it kind of hurts to say that I am manifesting something that I don't want to. At the same time, it gives us the power and the control over ourselves to say that, yes, I am manifesting and creating my external circumstances. There is control that I have to improve that situation then. It's not out of my power. When we look and take accountability and responsibility for ourselves and our external results and our situations, we can actually regain that power to influence them. So Charles Handel in the Master Key System says step one is idealization, is to know what we want, to know the situation, the feeling, the absolute ideal of what we want. And when we think about this logically, we cannot work towards something if we do not know what we want. I do not think that building engineers start, or even construction workers start building a building, brick, and then think about where the other brick is going to go, and then, okay, are we going to put something here next? Actually, there is a huge backtrack of nothing physical even happening before the first brick is even laid. So there's a bunch of planning and blueprints and discussions and permits and funding. Who knows? All these things go in before the first brick is even laid. And that is the mental work of idealization that we need to do for ourselves, within ourselves, to know what we actually really want, what our absolute ideal is, and to hold that within us. As long as we know what the harvest is before we plant the seeds, we know what we're going to get. So that is idealization. And how do we do this? How do we put this into practice? How do we impress upon the infinite? What we do is something called visualization. And what is visualization? It is holding the mental pictures of what we want in our mind. When we what we say, we can say that, think about a red car. We are seeing that red car in a picture. We are not seeing the words red car, and we're not seeing it in a different format. We think in pictures. So we do visualize as it is right now, and what we see, if we think about a red car that we actually like, will create good feelings inside of us, a high vibration, and that will be expressed outwardly in our physical reality. So we are always visualizing, we are always creating within our mind, and that's what we are getting in our physical reality. But what we are aware of now is our power to create from the infinite, and now we are holding ideas that are only the ideals that we actually want, the ones that we actually care about, the ones that are in line with our purpose. So we are visualizing intentionally now with a purpose, and now we can create ideals, situations, circumstances, and importantly, feelings that we want to experience in our physical reality. While visualizing, Hanel mentions that the power of concentration will help us greatly in this process, because we are concentrating and focusing on what we want, just like designing our maybe ideal home or something that we want to play with. When we're young, we design toys. I wanted a scooter so bad. So when we are visualizing this scooter and we are visualizing myself play with it, I'm going to be playing with this scooter. I'm going to be riding this scooter actually, and I'm going to go over this curb, and I'm going to do this jump, and it's going to feel like this when I'm in the air, and it's going to feel like this when I'm riding. That is the purpose of visualization, to rehearse that mentally so much that we have the details of what it's going to feel like, what it's going to be like when I take a turn on that scooter, what it looks like, the clothes I'm going to wear, the shoes I'm going to have when I'm standing on the scooter, and things like that. When people see me, how I'm going to talk about it, how cool I'm going to look. The more we rehearse it mentally, the more we get a detailed picture of what it's going to look like and how it feels. And those details are the key to creating our manifestations and working on the things that we actually want. This is the mental labor of constructing those visualizations, and only by repetition and keeping it there and analyzing it and tweaking it does it get perfected, and does it get strong enough and ingrained enough for them to come about. And this is the part where it sounds absurd and where people fall off on visualizations. Hanel in this book says that we have access to the infinite, that we have access to the universe, so there's no limit on the things that we can visualize and create for ourselves. This is where the visualizations can become hard, because we visualize from a place of where we are now, instead of using a clean slate, a clean landscape to visualize and create the things that we actually want. There is no lack in brain cells, there's no lack in thoughts, there's no lack in imagination, the capacity of the imagination to create. There is absolutely no lack. So when we are creating, we need to create without any lack, and actually build to the highest that we can actually conceive of for the things that we want. We are actually not supposed to be modest. We are not supposed to be selfless. We are supposed to be very selfish in the things that we want, and in the form of the fullest expression of ourselves. When we see these visualizations, we think about them. We think about them and we feel them. And when we feel them, they come about in our physical reality. And the practice and the repetition will make these maybe far-fetched, so out there ideas that don't make any sense. This will make them more real. This will make them more believable. This is why repetition and being aware of this is so important. And so this leads us into our practical step, where repetition and sticking to it and discipline come into play. with this whole book, and this is the essence of the whole book. So we're going to get into our practical step. So for this section, we are going into our normal routine of getting our seat, quieting ourselves in our quiet room, and we're going to spend anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes. For this week, we have been well trained in sitting with our own thoughts, within clearing our mind, letting go of emotions. Now for this week, we are going to see our friend in whatever setting we last saw them in, whatever place, whatever circumstance. We're going to recreate that in our imagination. We're going to see them in the clothes that they were wearing, the time of day, what they were eating. Now we're going to play with that picture, and we're going to tell them a story. We're going to have conversations with them. What we're going to do is pay attention to their facial expressions. We're going to create and see and feel facial expressions in our session, in our practical training of mental discipline. When we are sitting there, we're going to create all of these scenarios. And if we can do these, this means that our imagination is working very well. And if it's not, we are going to practice this until we do. And this step should be practiced for at least from a few days to a week before moving on to the next section. So thank you on this journey of the Master Key System. I hope you stay posted, and I hope this is working. Drop any comments or questions that you have. And until next time, take care.